Over the past few weeks, we've showed you how to make some different kinds of wreaths for the holiday season. Today, we're going to show you an even different way using flowers that you can grow in your own garden and how to dry those. And we've got with us today Dr. Doug Needham, who is one of our faculty members here at OSU and teaches floriculture. And Doug, welcome to Oklahoma Gardening.
Thank you.
Let's talk first of all about some of the different kinds of flowers that we can grow here. Why don't you show us some of the things we've got?
Okay, you may recall, Steve, when you visited out at the research plot, we were growing some of the globe amaranth as well as statice and the amobium, which is kind of a tiny daisy-like flower. We have several different colorations here in the statice. All of this was grown at the research farm. And you probably recall then these straw flowers that we had also.
Right, and we've actually grown some of these at our studio gardens as well, so I think people are very familiar with them. Well, after we've planted them and grown them through the season, a lot of times we enjoy them just for the color during that growing season, but obviously you've gone a little bit further with collecting them and drying them. Tell us then how we would dry a flower that we would cut.
Okay. One of the nice parts about these types of flowers is that many of them have very colorful bracts. The flowers are actually very tiny little flowers embedded inside, but the bract retains its color quite well, especially when dried. These materials, this is the globe amaranth, they were harvested in maybe 12-inch pieces of stem and then hung upside down to keep those flower heads straight as it dried. And then as it's completed, they're nice straight stems.
What about a location to dry them, though? I guess well ventilated maybe, low humidity?
Definitely. A low humidity, which isn't too difficult sometimes in Oklahoma. We get those 100-degree days and fairly low humidity. They want to be in a well-ventilated area, fairly warm. If you have an enclosed garage, that's a good area to hang them upside down above the cars. As the cars come in, the heat off the car will aid in the drying process.
How long usually? I know it will depend, but is there a way that we should look to identify the time that they've completed drying?
They'll become quite brittle as they've completely dried, and the leaves, which really when we dry flowers we don't intend to incorporate the leaf portion, but you'll be able to tell that that's become very crackly dry. It's important to dry them out of the sun too, because the sun will bleach the color from the flowers.
Are we looking at a few days maybe?
It can be anywhere from, yes, a few days, maybe 2 or 3 days, to even 2 or 3 weeks, depending on how heavy that flower head is, how many petals it has, how much moisture it's retained. Were they collected when there was a heavy dew? Is the humidity high? Various things will.
So after we've dried them, I guess there's some certain kinds of equipment that we need to use them in an arrangement. What would we need, the basic things for fixing them up to use them in an arrangement?
Well, it's going to vary with the particular type of material. Now, all of these, as you noticed on the globe amaranth, we harvested full stems. And so all we do is just snap those off into little groupings, and then those can either be pinned with a steel-type pick, such as shown on this one here, that has little fasteners that wrap around and hold the stems securely together, or that might be difficult to find outside of the florist's trade, but you probably could easily find some wooden picks with a wire, and that could then just be wrapped around the group to make a bundle.
Okay, now I noticed on the straw flower they're a little bit longer stems, so you've got some other materials here as well.
Right. On the straw flowers, they're handled differently. They are born in clusters of flowers with really inadequate stems for drying. So just the flower head is harvested, and then those are strung onto a wire that has a very small little hook at the tip of it, and that's just plunged right down through the center top of the straw flower and pulled through until that hook locks into the bottom of the flower. And then that forms an artificial stem for it.
And then you've got some, what, florist tape?
Flora tape. It's kind of a green paraffin-coated tape, and that's just to wrap around this wire to give it a little more substance and make it easier to work with in the arrangement.
And then I guess you're spraying it to...
The dried materials, as they undergo changes in humidity in the home, our homes are very dry in the winter, although some of us may have humidification systems, it can cause them to drop portions, and then
Okay.
others are just very fragile. So it's good to spray it with, this one happens to be super surface sealer. Even a good lacquer hairspray will work quite sufficiently just to seal that and prevent moisture from infiltrating.
Well, Doug, we've seen how to make some of the wreaths. Our time is getting short on us already, but show us how you've incorporated some of the dry flowers in with the wreath.
I think on your last week's program you were making grapevine wreaths, and this one happens to be a heart shape. And we've just taken some paper ribbon to kind of accent the heart shape of it, and then hot glued the straw flowers and some of the globe amaranth, statice, amobium, and even a little bit of English lavender in there to give it a nice color combination as well as fragrance.
Well, another thing that we do this time of year is use fresh greenery and cut things from the yard. Show us a little bit what you've got over here to make, I guess, a table decoration, wouldn't it?
Yes, a nice way to combine these drieds and bring the color of the fall in is to combine them with the evergreens. And we have here an assortment of, this is noble fir tips, and these can be just plunged into a moistened block of oasis.
Okay, and I've noticed you've got some hollies and arborvitae and different junipers. Tell us about the treatment on the oasis.
Okay, the oasis has been soaked in warm water. Now, once we make the arrangement, then we will fill it with a solution of a flower preservative that has some sugars, bactericide to cut down on any kind of bacterial fungal growth in here, as well as a acidifier to help keep the block of moisture acidic.
Now, let's go over and look at your finished arrangement there that you've got so we can see.
Well, on this one, then you can see how we've taken the greenery and used it as a basing and then incorporated our heart wreaths as well as an assortment of dried materials, some roses, which we didn't happen to have samples here to show, but those are quite nicely dried.
So you combine the two, as well as your heart wreath there. Now, the evergreen things, would they want to submerge those in water to get more moisture in them and then use a preservative as well?
The evergreens need to have quite a bit of moisture, and it's a good idea to spray those with some type of anti-transpirant, such as wilt-proof or crowning glory, to help seal out the transpiration so they're not going to be losing as much moisture over the holiday. And then it's always important to be sure and keep the bottom tray filled with a preservative.
Well, now, Doug, obviously you've got all kinds of decorations here. This is for the Madrigal celebration here at OSU. Tell us real quickly what other decorations you've got here and how they're going to be used.
Okay, well, this particular Madrigal is the 16th annual Madrigal for Oklahoma State University, and because of that it's being called Sweet 16, Songs of Love. So we are incorporating hearts, which is kind of an unusual sort of thing to do for a medieval celebration. The Madrigal is from a medieval time. It's a dinner party, theater, musical extravaganza. And we have these table arrangements as well as some bouquets used using our dried materials and the hearts. And then we're also making some very large wreaths, and these are yet to be completed. There'll be dried materials incorporated in this section here of these wreaths. And
this would be for the wall decorations. So your floriculture class has actually been responsible for making all of these decorations.
That's right. The advanced floral design and marketing class is responsible for all this work.
Well, Doug, we really appreciate all your time and showing us how to use a combination of the dried flowers, things that we can grow, as well as some of the evergreens. I think that's on the minds of a lot of people. And I hope things go well with the celebration. And we know the decorations are going to look really nice. So thanks again for being with us.
Happy to be with you today.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.